What's up, peeps? How are you? Today is the day for episode 6 of Discover with Sbenati. We are here with a very special guest. His name is Reverend Kevin George, and he is here doing an amazing initiative, raising money for an amazing charity, 2 charities actually, and we'll get into that. But without any further ado, here we have
Revy Kevy, some people call me. It's Kevin George. Glad to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a few questions because that's what I'm good at. But I'm going to keep the camera like this, and maybe I'll just switch it from back and forth.
Okay.
Okay. So is it okay if I have it like that?
Sure you want to do that?
Yeah. Okay. Because you're going to go from different.
Okay.
You can hold it.
Yeah, I can hold for you.
Okay. All right. So, Reverend Kevin.
Yes.
So let's start with this whole process of why did you start, or before we even get to what we started, what are you doing for this community? What are you doing for this charity, for these 2 charities?
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a bit of a history of trying to connect the church where I work, St.Aidan's church, to organizations in the community that are doing good work. And last year I did a bike ride, 2,200 kilometers, and raised money for Jesse's Journey. And I got thinking about that, and between my wife, who wasn't happy with how much I was gone on my bike last year, and my rear end, understandably so, and my rear end, which really took a beating on the bike last year, I decided riding the bike this year, and it was 2 years actually I rode the bike. So this year it was like, I'm not riding the bike. So what can I do? So I spent some time thinking, what am I going to do? And I also participated in the Red Shoe Walk the last 2 or 3 years for what was Women's Community House and is now Innova, which is a joint venture, a merging of the Sexual Assault Crisis Center and the Women's Community House. And so I thought, these 2 charities I like to be involved in, let's do something special. And so I prayed and I dreamed and I stayed awake and I did all that stuff, and I thought, what are you any good at? Well, it turns out I'm not good at very much. So I can't build things. I can't do anything with my hands. And then I remembered a conversation I had with my dad back in Newfoundland. My father was really good. He could, as we'd say in Newfoundland, he could build an arsehole in a cat. And
he could do anything.
He could do anything.
Yeah.
And he was building a boat. He was in his 80s then, and I was there visiting him, and I was trying to help, and I was all in the way. I was all hands. And then finally he looked at me and said, you know what, Kevin, it's a good job you can talk. Because if you couldn't talk, you'd never eat, because I was no good at helping. So I decided I would talk. And then I did some Googling and some searching and discovered a pastor in Florida had preached for 53 hours in 2015. And I thought, I can preach for 53 hours? No, I'll preach for 55 and make sure we beat it.
That's amazing.
And so I reached out to both charities, and they agreed. And so we call it Revy Kevy's 55 Hours for Hope, which you can see on here, because everybody knows me as Revy Kevy. And so we've got a big event, September 11th to the 13th. It's now known, thanks to you, as Revy Kevy's 55 Hours for Hope, presented by Sbenati Dentistry. So we're very excited about the partnership.
That is amazing. And
that's breaking news.
Yes, it is breaking news, because that was live as of 2 days ago.
2 days ago,
right?
Man.
So before we get into that, so just to clarify, so basically you already started some charity work last year.
I did, yeah.
Right? You did that 2,200.
I did a 2,200 kilometer
bike ride.
Yeah.
Okay, and then basically you said you want to do something different.
I wanted to do something different, and this is different.
And this is very different. It's actually cool because there's a little bit of competition.
Yeah.
There's a contest here because you're trying to beat the other priest.
That's right.
Right? And so you're doing not just 53 hours of straight preaching, hour per hour.
Hour per hour, baby.
You're doing 55.
55.
Okay, so I wanna stick on this topic a little bit because I can barely speak for 10 minutes straight.
Oh, I think you can do it. Don't undersell yourself.
You're doing 55 hours.
55 hours.
So, okay. So what's going through my mind right now is a lot. So tell us first, I can't even stay up for 24 hours straight. How are you going to stay up for 55 hours straight?
Well, we don't know that yet. I mean, it's going to be a test of endurance and mental stability in terms of it's going to take some real, because I can't give up just because I'm tired, right? So, but we have a whole team of health professionals, so that we have a nurse and so on there all the time to make sure, and we've set up some parameters that, if there's some physical benchmarks that we reach and things go wrong, then obviously we have to do what we have to do.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I've been up. I remember making a trip years ago that, all told, I don't think I slept in 30 hours, and I managed it. So,
Okay.
you know, that trip to where you were in Australia,
Yes.
by the time I went door to door,
Oh, you
I
didn't
was-
sleep on the plane.
didn't sleep on the plane, couldn't
Okay.
sleep on the plane. I was in
Wow.
there like a sardine in a can. I wasn't conducive
no,
to sleeping.
No, it's not comfortable at all.
And I
actually.
remember watching 3 feature-length films.
And you didn't sleep.
No, and then I finished the 3 films, and I looked at my watch, and I realized
You still have another
there's
four
like
more
I
films to go.
I got another 11 hours before we land. So I've gone through a bit, but I don't know. And then I read up on sleep deprivation because the military does this sort of stuff.
That's right.
You have a history of
Yes.
that. And I was reading that like after 30 hours, people start seeing things and everything.
Yes.
Right? So I mean, who knows what I'll be saying at hour 44? Like if I was coming to listen to this, I'd want to
come in at the end.
come in and say, what the hell is he talking about?
So if you want entertainment, you come on Friday.
Yeah. Who knows? We may have to have a 7-second delay on whatever I'm saying, just in case there's anything. No, it should be fine. I think we'll be fine.
Okay. So
It's a lot of material, though. I have 2 binders this thick
Okay.
of sermons.
2 binders.
2 binders.
Okay, so you're not using an iPad.
No. Well, I usually, like on a Sunday morning when I preach, I use my iPad actually.
Okay.
And I usually just have a few notes, right? But I can't rely on myself. I could probably carry, I think if I had to use my normal style, I think I could carry about 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
But after that, I mean, I think, and especially as you start getting tired, I need to have something in front of me to
Right.
make sure I.
Right. So how are you going to prevent yourself from, because I mean, okay, you know when you're talking for a really long time, something could be really intriguing.
Yes.
But if it's not so exciting, even the speaker can get bored.
Yes.
And if the speaker gets bored, well, you bet your pretty penny that the audience is going to get bored as well.
Yeah.
So how did you structure all these speeches so that you're going to be engaged?
Good question. So I don't promise pearls in all of these because 55 is a lot. I think my estimation is I think about close to half are really good. I
Okay,
think are really
that's
good.
amazing.
I like half of them. Like I really like half of them.
Okay.
The other half, But I mean, I'm filling up the time.
Right.
So I'm being honest.
Right.
I mean, it's not all going to be golden.
Of course, yeah.
But what I did was I realized that I dreamed this up in short order. I mean, like it sounded like I had a lot of time in February when I started thinking about this, but then when you got at it, it's here in a hurry. So how do I get all that material? That's a lot of writing. It's if I slow down and speak with some pauses, it's 5,500 to 6,000 words per hour. If I speak at my normal Newfoundland rate, it's 9,000 words.
Wow.
So I've gone with 5,500 and 6,000, and I've been practicing trying to finish my sentences without racing through the words.
Wow.
Like this.
Okay.
And what I did then next was I reached out to my trusted colleagues who are all great preachers who give good sermons. And I said, you know what? Send me your best 3.
Okay.
Send me your best 3.
Yeah.
And then they're like 15-minute sermons for a regular Sunday morning.
You're right.
And then I've built them out.
Right.
I've expanded on them. I've added scripture readings to it. I've done more stuff so that it reaches that sort of 5,500 word threshold. And some of it is experience. I was in St. Louis earlier this summer, and I had a really interesting encounter with a guy in the street. And I happened to just be reading Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And so I merged that speech with my lived experience with this man of having a coffee.
Nice.
And it's going to be a really, I really like this one.
Sounds like a very emotional.
Yeah, no, it was a life-changing moment I had with another human being. So I want to share that with people too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be all just preaching. There's going to be some
it's storytelling and
Okay.
I mean, we're using the word preaching because we're trying to reclaim it for what it is. I mean, I think in this city we've been all too familiar with, how the word gets misused when they call the so-called people on the street who yell at people and scream at people, they call them preachers. They're not preachers, they're idiots. And they're harassing people. We want to remind people that the rich history of homiletics in the church, the art of trying to use storytelling and parable and the richness of scripture and personal experience to transform lives is really something critical. So it's about love and justice and hope and kindness and peace. And it's about bringing people together. It's not about driving people apart. It's about lifting people up, not tearing people down. And so we saw this as an opportunity once I assembled a group to help me plan this. Look, this is really a chance for us to, I'm bringing preaching back. So we're going to have some fun with it.
You're a very, very cool priest.
Oh yeah, I'm as cool as when people see me.
As cool as it can be.
That's so funny. When people see me, they see cool.
Oh yeah. This is the definition of cool. I'm serious.
If you look up cool in the dictionary, this is what you see.
This is it.
You see this pear-shaped priest.
So you are so in my books, coolness comes from the perspective that you're very real.
I am real.
So in terms of that, you don't put out the front just because you have the title of reverend.
Yeah, no, reverend, canon, doctor, if you put it all in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but I don't, because I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
I don't.
So what I'm trying to say is that because even though you have these titles, so reverend, doctor, and what's the third one? Canon.
Like a big old gun. Actually spelt like the camera, C-A-N-O-N.
Oh, canon.
Yeah.
Is that
It's sort of an honorary title that the bishop bestows upon certain priests for things they've done or whatever. It's sort of to say, follow this sort of example.
Okay, it's an honorary title.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Latin word is rule, right?
Okay.
Like follow a rule, like a rule of life and all
that's
that.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have.
Well, if you're going to be impressed, it's going to be with a guy who's a canon. I mean, you should be just beside yourself.
It does. I was like, wait, is that a joke? Yeah. No, but seriously though, but like you have these titles, but you still joke around. You still so I can only imagine how amazing your speeches are going to be.
Well,
like they're going to be very intriguing. They're going to be very uplifting, and they're going to be very like people are going to want to pay attention to them.
Some of them are controversial,
and that's what makes people get their ears perked up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I've got a whole one of my sermons focuses on love is love, and it's about the church welcoming the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
And for some people that's a controversial notion, but I've got some things to say in there about those who use scriptures and the canon of scripture to beat people down. I've got some things to say about that. I've got a sermon that's got a question mark on the end. Jesus, a racist? And it's a whole reflection on the story of Jesus with the Syrophoenician woman when he tells her that, not even the dogs, she's like a dog, get away from me type thing. And so not to suggest that Jesus is a racist, but it's what, Jesus a racist? And then I pull that apart a little bit.
Right.
So there's some, and I had some work around migration and migrants and what's going on in our world right now with walls being built. And I believe tables should be extended. Instead of building walls, we should be extending tables. So there's a lot of sort of pushing at current affairs and stuff like that that's going on right now too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in this 55 hours.
Good.
Good.
That'll definitely intrigue people.
Sure. My homiletics professor, great guy, God rest his soul, Bob Giuliano, used to say that preaching was about comforting the afflicted and afflicting the comfortable.
Okay.
That if people are afflicted, you should be working on your preaching to comfort them. But if people are comfortable, you should be afflicting them. You should be challenging them to get up and get going and go do something.
That's right.
Make the world better.
That's right.
Don't
get comfortable in the state that you're in. Make a difference.
You should always be doing something to make the world a better place.
That's right.
And to transform your own life so that you can be better, so that you can be a better reflection of the divine.
And you are most certainly doing that with this charity. And and the reason, so when you contacted me, and you told me about this initiative, and you said it's going towards charity.
Yeah.
That really perked up my ears because I'm like, okay, well, I give towards charity, and my involvement with the Winter Refugee campaign that I did during dental school.
Amazing stuff. And that's why when I saw you, I thought this is the guy I need involved in this because you have that same sort of passion.
So exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. So I found that as an opportunity for me to be involved, and I took that. And that's why I jumped on it. Because,
and for that, we're grateful.
Yes. and I'm grateful that you actually reached out to me. Yeah. You know what's funny? You said to me, I've been praying to find someone.
That's the truth.
To be our title sponsor. As you typed that, in my mind, I'm like, well, you found this person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
But I didn't want it to be so easy for you.
Well, this guy has like 1,000 questions. And Mr. Technology here, it's all got to be like this. I send him a phone number. I'm like, wait. It's like, you got to remember, I'm a generation older.
But you type really fast. You were on the computer, weren't you?
I was on my cell phone.
Oh, you were on the cell phone?
Yeah.
You type very fast to be on the cell phone.
Yeah.
I thought you were on the computer.
No. A little bit for an old guy, I'm not too bad.
Oh, you're young. You're young in heart, that's for sure. So tell me your story a little bit. So you come from Newfoundland.
I was born and raised in Newfoundland. I'm a proud Newfoundlander. It's, to me, the best place on the face of the planet.
Okay. And, tell me why. I find Newfoundland to be very far away from the main hub of Canada, which is Toronto and Ottawa.
Yeah.
More Toronto than Ottawa. But why?
That's Toronto, and they'll tell you. Yeah. They're the heart of everything in the world.
Yeah, that's right. Toronto rules the world.
Yeah.
But why do you find Newfoundland to be
Well,
Besides you actually being born there.
No, I was just there. We just came back, actually. My wife, Catherine Ann, and I have 6 siblings out there. I'm the youngest of 7. My parents are gone now, but I still go back to see my folks. And when we go there, we had friends with us this time, and so it afforded us the opportunity to show them around a bit. And every time we get to do that, I remember again why I'm so in love with Newfoundland, why Newfoundland is such a special place. Because if you go, I mean, we go and we spend a lot of time with the family, and we just do the regular things. But when you've got somebody who's never been there, you want them to see certain things.
That's right.
And all of it is natural. If you want to, in fact, there was an ad campaign they had a few years ago that says, you know, if you're looking for a theme park or you're looking for amusement, don't come to Newfoundland.
Right.
You know, because that's not what we are.
Right.
But we went to Cape St. Mary's, which is a World UNESCO Heritage Site. It's one of the largest nesting populations of gannets in the world. Beautiful birds, like hundreds of thousands of them down in the rocks. So loud it'll bust your eardrums.
Wow.
It's amazing. And you walk 40 minutes to get out to the edge of it, and you're standing 350 feet above the ocean, and you're looking at all these birds and whales, and it's unspoiled, and they don't build anything there, so there's no barriers. You know, you go to Bay Bulls, and you take a boat ride out to a place called Witless Bay, and you see the puffin sanctuary that's out there. You go out in the spring and you see the icebergs, and it's as though God has carved these majestic pieces of art that just sort of float into the harbor.
That's intense.
If you're in a boat and you watch, you know, I took our friends out on the water and we watched whales, you know, like as far away as the Tim Hortons here.
Yeah.
When you see something that large,
right in front
it
of your
really
eyes.
it pulls me in connection with the created order and what a creator has done. And so, you know, the Celtics had this notion in spirituality of the thin place. And for them, the thin place was one of those places where the only thing that exists between you and the divine and you and the other world of holiness is just a little veil. And you lose yourself in it because it could be a figurative space in terms of a state of mind, or it could be a physical place. And there are a couple places, and Cape St. Mary's is one of them for me in Newfoundland, where when I get there, particularly if I've got time on my own, it's transcendent. It's numinous.
Right.
I mean, it's just amazing.
Right.
Something happens to you. You know, you get lifted to a different place.
You get into a different zone.
I do. Yeah, you're raised to a different plane, and I really feel that touch and that one with the God who made me when I'm in a place like that.
Wow.
So I find Newfoundland to be amazing.
So I'll tell you something. So my sister and her husband took their kids to Newfoundland. Yeah. And they absolutely loved it. They actually went there twice.
Oh, wow.
And they loved it specifically because of what you mentioned.
Yeah.
The nature aspect.
Yeah.
It's very, very unobstructed with everything else. The noise pollution, exactly. Yeah. Noise pollution and the light pollution is very minimal.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to find that in the city.
You know, I noticed the first night, you're quite right, because that first night we were there, we went out, my nephew turned 50. I know that sounds like a lot because I look young, and he is older than me. However, I have a nephew older than me. He turned 50. Happy birthday, Roger. And so I went out to...
Happy birthday, Roger.
Yeah. Roger's got a great brewery in a town called Dildo, Newfoundland. It's called the Dildo Brewing Company and Museum. Okay. And it's the hottest microbrewery in Canada right now. So if you're listening and you're going to Newfoundland, go to the Dildo Brewing Company. Okay. But anyway, I went out for his birthday, and we went out to his house, which is out on this sort of road that used to be the old railway track. And he's up above this sort of bluff, and he's looking out over the water. It's an incredible house. Yeah. Big surprise party. Had our friends from Ontario here. They couldn't believe, you know, they were like, you know, they thought they'd been brought to paradise, you know? And then, and we have the party, and when it's over and we leave, we're staying in a little cottage that he's got a little further in the road. Nice. And we walked in the moonlight, the 4 of us. And it was then that I realized again just how much light pollution there is here, right? Right. Because that walk, that little 5-minute walk out, and it was dark. I mean, it was just dark, and there were stars. That's right. And the moon, and it's like, man, it's like you get to see the vast expanse of the sky. That's right. There's a prayer we use in the church when we're saying the Eucharistic prayer to Mass. And one of our prayers says, the vast expanse of interstellar space, the galaxies, suns, and the planets in their courses, and this fragile Earth, our island home. You gave them to us, God, you know? And when you're out there, you can see that. That's right. You get to see that right in front of your eyes. Where what we see here is, you know, another Tim Hortons. or
another dental office.
Yeah, that's true. Those are popping up too, yeah.
That's very true, because when I was in the military, and we would go out in the field, we would look up, because obviously it's far away from the city. Yeah. And it's just a blanket of stars.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
It's the most gorgeous sight anyone could lay his or her eyes on.
Yeah. And there's kids in the city here who've never seen it.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. As a guy who grew up in that little, like, this community I grew up in, it's like 250 people. That place I went back to visit where we had the sky in front of us. And then when I think about some of the kids here who've grown up in this, it's like they've never known.
No.
Like, I spent a week earlier in the summer in a condo in downtown Toronto. And it was beautiful in a whole different way, right? I like the big city too, in a way. But that came to mind when I was there. I said, you know what? There are kids in this city who've never seen the stars.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because all they see is all these artificial lights.
Of course.
Yeah.
And when you see something like this, your perspective actually changes.
Sure it does.
It changes because you get to see something that you haven't even imagined before.
Wow, you become smaller.
That's right. And the first time I saw that, I was so mesmerized.
Yeah.
I was mesmerized because I didn't know that it was a blanket of stars.
That's right.
I knew stars existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like that.
You can see them like that.
So it's awe-inspiring for sure.
The other place you see it is in a good forest, and there's a lot of that in Newfoundland. One of the things I found here in London, I moved here 7 years ago, moved up from Windsor, Essex, and one of the things I found that really sort of excited me are all the trails here in the city. And so I go out in the trails, and you can go places. We do a mass in the Sifton Bog over here, for instance, right behind our church. We get in there on the platform 7:30. Last Friday of the month we do this every month in the summer, and we'll get like 30 people at 7:30 in the morning, and we do a Eucharist in there. And we may as well be in the middle of Timbuktu. It's 10 minutes away from Oxford Street, but when you get in there, it's trees and bog, and it's deer and it's geese and it's ducks and it's frogs and you realize I think the thing about all that is that when you walk into a forest and you're among big tall trees, you realize how small you are, right?
That's right.
Where we march around the sidewalks here and we think we're pretty large.
Yes.
You know, we puff ourselves up. We like to be pretty big.
That's right.
But once in a while we need to be sort of reminded we're not that big.
To humble each other.
we need to be
humble ourselves.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's an important perspective.
For sure. So have you seen Westminster Ponds as well?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've walked them all.
It's gorgeous.
My favorite is out in the park.
Okay.
And you go out there and you can walk 7 kilometers along the Thames River all the way out to Gideon Road, whatever they call it, and you turn around and come back.
Okay.
And I would go in there.
I haven't been there.
I spent 5 hours, pack my lunch, bring a book, spend an hour down by the river reading.
Yeah, right.
Try and get enlightened. It's hard. When you're this dense, it takes a lot of work.
Oh, you're very enlightened. That's for sure. So then, speaking of enlightenment, so then I can actually notice that your speeches are going to be very, very enlightening and very interesting as well. But now, seeing as how you do have that quick-paced
I gotta
speech,
slow down.
So bringing it back to that event. So how are you going to? Have you been practicing? And you've been practicing on a daily basis to try to slow yourself down?
Yeah, of late.
Do you have someone that's going to be there in the actual atmosphere where you're going to be presenting, actually pacing you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. I haven't identified who that is yet. Okay. So if you're out there and you want to be a timekeeper, I don't need you for all 55 hours. I need say 6 of you, and you can break up the 55 hours. But what I'm trying to do right now is go through my binders and actually put a rough estimate at the top of every page.
That's smart.
Minute and a half, 1 minute, 2.5 minutes. I need and then I need a timekeeper who's willing to just let me know when I'm at 30 minutes, and if I need to speed up, I can speed up. But if I need to really slow down, I can slow down. And the parameters that the other guy used was 10 people in attendance at all times. So we're working on filling that up. So if any of you folks listening want to do that, you can go through www.55hoursforhope.blog, and there's a link there to sign up to go listen. You don't have to sign.
.blog, not .com.
Yeah, .blog is a tricky thing. Yeah. But you don't have to sign up to come. Anybody can come, but we're trying to make sure we have at least 10. You'd help us by putting your name there. That's the point.
Okay.
And the other thing is that you can't stop talking for more than 29 seconds. So I'm able to pause.
Okay.
And if you actually stop for 29 seconds, it's much longer than you think.
Right. Okay.
It's a fairly long
So that's the contest rules, or that's the the 55-hour rule.
That's right. So he followed all the parameters for Guinness, the World Book of Records.
Oh, okay.
And so he tried to register it as the longest sermon, and there is no such category.
Okay.
So they put him in the longest speech, marathon speech, which he set the record.
Nice.
And then when I looked it up and I was going to be beating the record, I discovered some guy in Nepal, like up in the mountains, I don't know if anybody heard him, has recently spoke 120 hours. which seems ridiculous. Like I don't know how anybody talks 120 hours, but
so you're not going to make it into Guinness?
not as long as speech, or not as long as marathon speech. No,
But-
I could lobby them to try and create a new category of homiletics. See, to me, it's a discipline. It's an art form.
Yes.
It's not just a speech. Like the
Right.
guy in Nepal, he didn't break apart scripture and do all this.
Right.
You know,
Right.
he took it. So what I know, and what the guy in Florida is going to know, and what anybody listening to know, it'll be the longest sermon ever preached.
Right.
Period.
It's still very,
and-
very impressive.
And I also found out through the process that if I'm willing to give enough of your money to Guinness, I could probably do it, but I'm not giving your money to Guinness. I'm giving it to Innova,
Yes,
and I'm giving it to Jesse's
which
Journey.
is basically the reason why you're doing this.
That's
whole
right.
thing.
So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry about Guinness.
That's awesome.
I might drink some Guinness when it's all over.
I think you're going to be sleeping for how long after this?
Who knows? Again, I have no idea what my body is going to do. Right?
But I'm sure you researched it. Like you looked into it. You've asked some medical professionals.
I have, and they said it's hard to predict because, like like my chronic care nurse, because I'm a diabetic, she's been excellent, Kasia Kalaris, who's at the London Family Health Team, and she's been working with a nurse at the church who's put together a team and all that. So their focus is on trying to make sure I stay energized and healthy enough to get to the end of it, right? But then we've all been sort of asking this, well, what's going to happen? Will my sugar spike even if I'm not eating, right? Like if I have to eat while I talk, and they've set out a menu and they'll pass me food. They talk about me like an animal. They say, well, we're going to feed him at 12 o'clock. It's like I'm a cat or something. We got to go feed Kevin. And so we don't know. And so we want to be prepared for all the possibilities. Like perhaps I could have a high sugar, not based on caloric intake, but because my body is stressed. Who knows? So there is some risk involved in it. And so I've had some people tell me, I'm not in agreement with any of this. I'm not going to go near it. I think you're risking yourself too much. But I feel pretty confident that I don't like to fail. Let's put it that way.
Good.
So
and you have a team behind you too.
Incredible team.
They have a team behind you who's going to look out for you.
Yeah.
They're going to be measuring things. They're going to make sure that you're,
They're going to quantify it properly.
Good.
I mean, what I keep telling people is that if we run into a problem, then we run into a problem. And we've got contingency for that. The event will continue no matter what.
Good.
We're not going to, it's going to go. There will be 55 hours of good preaching happening no matter what. But I don't plan to not finish.
And so you're starting when? You're starting?
Starting September the 11th. There's an opening ceremony at 10 o'clock where you'll be able to hear the good doctor get up and talk about why he gets involved in this. And a few others. My bishop will be there. The leaders of the charities that are benefiting from this will be there. A number of dignitaries from around the city, and then at 10:30 I will take the stage. We've set a stage up in the parking lot, and if the weather cooperates, much of this will be outside on the sound stage, and you'll be able to sit outside. We'll have seating in the parking lot. We will have steam whistle is donated at beer garden, and you'll be able to have a beverage in there and hear and see things from a little bit of a distance, but still you can do that.
You can still hear it.
Yeah. And so we're gonna do that. Wednesday night we have a family night. So if you're out there with kids, bouncy castles, face painting, games all over the place.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, so you can come and listen to me for a bit, but you can also, have some fun with the kids. And on Thursday night, man, we have an incredible thing happening now because Rick Kish and his combo, the Rick Kish combo, who's the Jazz Vocalist of the Year here in London, just won that award from the London Music Awards, has agreed to come and put his combo together of smooth crooning. We're talking, this guy is, to me, Michael Bublé should really he should really carry this guy's guitar case for him, okay? Because he's incredible.
Wow.
So you can come and listen to me, but you can be bored with me and go, I want to hear Rick, and then go out to the beer garden and you'll hear Rick singing with his group. It's amazing.
So this is going to be happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Right, because you're not going to stop.
I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
We're just trying to create a festival atmosphere where people can come and enjoy themselves. They can take in some of the hopefully inspirational words from the pulpit, but hopefully they can also spend time as community. A part of what I'm trying to do in this is bring people together from disparate backgrounds and many cultures and realities. And
who else is going to be speaking there?
Well, that's one of the really interesting things is the other guy in Florida, he just did is I get a 5-minute comfort break every hour.
Yeah.
And when I was meeting with one of our silver sponsors, Huron University, my alma mater, go Huron, Barry Craig, who's the president there, met with me and agreed to be a silver sponsor. And he had the idea, he said, what you should do is you should fill those 5 minutes with other speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And so Barry, actually, who's also an ordained priest in the Anglican Church, is also going to take one of those 5 minutes. But we have Mayor Ed Holder is doing 5 minutes. We have Ken Eastwood and Lorena Dixon from CJBK Radio, who are our media sponsors, and they're going to be broadcasting live, by the way, on Thursday and Friday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on site.
Okay.
And but we've got a number of my colleagues. Imam Tawakkul is coming to do 5 minutes. Rabbi Deborah Dressler will be doing 5 minutes. So it's a very diverse group of people. We have over 40 people taking those 55 minutes, every single 5-minute slot, including the ones at 1:25 and 2:25 and 3:35 in the morning. There is somebody scheduled to take every single one of these. And that to me was really heartening. I was so blown away. And I've had people calling me this week and saying, can I take 5 minutes? And I said, well, I've got them all filled. I'm sorry. But it was really like, it's heartening that people want to be involved and they want to take part in it.
It's such a good cause.
Yeah,
it's such a good cause. So Innova is a women's shelter.
Innova is what was formerly Women's Community House, which many of you know from over on Wellington, and the Sexual Assault Crisis Center. And they merged, I'm going to guess 2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah. They do incredible work. They take women, it's a shelter. It's a place where people can go when they finally are able to get free from the abuse that they're facing. It's the protection and the care and the aftercare that they provide for people is incredible. The demand is huge. They're the largest women's shelter in southwestern Ontario, outside of Toronto. And the work that they're doing is second to none. And the need is great. They're facing the same funding cuts that everybody else is under this current government. And beyond that, it's there's more demand than they have beds. And so whatever we can do to help with that, to me, it's important. I've done the Red Shoe Walk for a number of years. It's called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, where I've walked a mile in red high heels. And you haven't seen nothing until you've seen 250 pounds of clergy meat. I was
wondering what that was.
In red high heels. I aerated the lawn down at Victoria Park one year. It was incredible. I got there late, and it was a funny story. I'm in my clergy robe. Yeah. I've got a stole on, and I got red high heels on. Right.
But can you see them with your robe on?
Oh yeah, The robe's up a bit. So they've already left because I couldn't get there in time from church. So it's a Sunday afternoon. So I get down there and I pull on the shoes, and they're like, okay, they're on the other side of the park now. So I run from Centennial Hall straight across Victoria Park and meet up with them on the other side in high heel red shoes. So I'm running across Victoria Park, the grass, right? And I'm aerating the lawn as I'm going. And there's this dude cuddling with his girl, right? And he's having a nice Sunday afternoon snuggle, and he's got his head nestled into her and all this, and they're spooning and having a good time. And I go running by, thud, 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 thud. And this guy leans in and he says, wow. He says, that's a priest in red high heels. You never know what you're going to see in the park, honey. So I've always supported the work that they do, and this is another way to do that. And the other charity is Jesse's Journey. And I'm passionate about that because the guy who started Jesse's Journey, John Davidson, is a parishioner of mine at St.Aidan's. John's story is, for those who don't know it, John and his wife Shireen had a son named Jesse. And when Jesse was young, he was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which was a death sentence. And not long after, John decided he would do something a little crazy. And that was he pushed his son in his wheelchair all over Ontario, 3,800 kilometers. And he called it Jesse's Journey. And he raised a ton of money for research to help try and defeat Duchenne. 3 years later, not to give up, he left St. John's, Newfoundland, Kitty Vitty actually, put his foot in the water in Kitty Vitty outside of St. John's, and then walked for 280 some odd days until he got to Victoria and put his foot in the water in the Pacific Ocean and raised $1 million or more for research. They've just given their 11 millionth dollar to research in the 20 years since then. Wow. They've continued to do the work. Jesse has since died, and the charity continues in his name. And the work that John has done and the team that's now been created since his departure is amazing. And so the work that they're doing is incredible. The lifespan of someone with Duchenne muscular dystrophy has increased so much because of the work that the doctors and the researchers are doing. And Jesse's Journey is the largest single funder of research in Duchenne stem cell research and all that goes with that in the world. Wow. And so it's an important charity, and it's housed right here in London. So
So for Jesse's journey, how do you know the history of it? How did it come to London? If he's
from London.
He's from London.
Yeah.
Okay, but you said that he did a fundraiser back in Newfoundland.
Oh yeah, no, he decided to walk across Canada. So
from Newfoundland.
So from Newfoundland to he's from here,
but he's from here.
He's from here, right here in London.
And so he did the wheelchair push
in Ontario, three years earlier.
Right.
All over Ontario, up north.
And that's when this whole thing started. Jesse's journey. Okay.
There's a great painting of him going up. Those of you who've been up north know I forget the name of it, but there's that big long climb up into Thunder Bay, this hill, and there's this great painting I have of him pushing Jesse in his chair up that hill. I mean, it's just amazing. The determination of a dad who cares so much about his boy, and he knows what his boy is facing.
Right.
It's amazing.
That is.
It's like it's so emotional.
It is emotional. It is.
This guy loves this guy.
I got shivers just when you're telling that story.
Loves his boy.
Yeah, right.
And you can tell everything that John has done leading up to the walk, having done the walk, and then having done the subsequent walk across Canada. But since then, everything that he's done for Jesse's journey, he really loved his boy.
That's amazing, though.
And he doesn't want others. We want to defeat this thing so that other parents don't have to go through what he and Shireen went through.
I'm sure. I mean, it's a very touching story.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so why did you choose that as opposed to another charity?
Well, I think it's because I built a relationship with John, with the man himself. And I had heard, I was here in London when he made his first walk and going to Huron, go Huron. And I was impressed by the notion. I mean, Canada's a big place, man. Mm-hmm. And when someone walks across Canada, it's like, so I took notice of it. And that was that. And then I went off to Labrador for my first parish, and then I went to Windsor, Essex, and then I moved here 7 years ago. And one of the first people I met at my first mass here was a guy walks up to me and he says, "Hello, my name is John Davidson." And I said, "John Davidson?" I said, "Well, there's so many famous John Davidsons. Like the hockey player was named John Davidson." Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's not me. He says, and he didn't say anything about his walk. And but the next time we met, he gave me a book. And when he gave me the book was, he's written a couple books about this journey. Mm. And when I looked at the book and it was Jesse's journey, I all of a sudden clicked in and said, "Oh my gosh, you're John Davidson of Jesse's journey." And so because I've seen the commitment that John has made to this over the years.
You emotionally connected with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was
time.
like, you know what? And then I got to know him and Shireen and hear the story of their life and how much love they gave to Jesse and how much love Jesse gave to them. And I thought, other parents and other kids with Duchenne, they deserve that same sort of attention and the work that these doctors are doing. I've gotten to meet some of them. I was at an event earlier in the year and I sat at a table with a doctor from Japan and his wife, both doctors from Japan who are in Edmonton. They moved to Edmonton to do research on this and are being funded by the work of Jesse's Journey. And they had come for this symposium they had on a weekend with families from all the way from Newfoundland to British Columbia came to this thing. Yeah. And I met a guy named Douglas Helton, and I share his story in one of my 55 sermons. Okay. Doug Helton is a young man in his, I guess, late 20s now, who shared the story of how he used to love to travel, and now with his lack of mobility and his need for a breathing apparatus and all that stuff, that he had lost the ability to do as much of that. And then it had depressed him. And then a little over a year ago, he and his mom and his family started to talk about what it would look like if he took a trip. And he went and he toured Europe a year ago. And he tells that story. And again, I get shivers telling it to you now, and he got up there and you're talking about a kid who's got to, suck on a breathing apparatus every couple of minutes while he speaks and all that. And he's telling this story of how you can overcome any obstacle.
Right.
That we have the capacity in the worst of situations to dig deep down inside and overcome those obstacles. And you look at him and you go, yeah, hell yeah, you can. If you can do it. Like, I mean, this kid's an inspiration.
That's amazing.
I want to be like him.
That's right. That's right.
I want to be like him.
It gives you good perspective.
Yeah. So can I stay awake for 55 hours? I think I can.
Heck yeah.
I mean,
after reflecting on all of that, I mean, 55 hours, it seems like nothing.
That's the roughest thing I got to do. I stay.
It's true.
Right. And I listen to him and I go, look at what he decided to overcome.
Right.
To do what, and he's gotten his life back. Like his passion, his verve for everything from that trip just invigorated him. And I listen to him and I go, everybody's worried about me doing 55 hours. I'm 55 hours.
Yeah. That's the big. Do you know what you have on your side? you have the self-motivation due to all the knowledge that you have from all these experiences that you collected. Like it's amazing because a lot of people, they don't have all this information that you have and they can't internalize it. So you could hear all these stories, but once you internalize it and you actually make it your own,
Experience
and then,
is everything.
right, and then you reflect and you have that perspective as to, okay, well, they did all this, well, I'm just doing this.
That's right.
So I'm sure I can get through this.
Yeah.
If they did everything.
I can tell you, when I'm tired up there, when I get tired and I get a little cranky and I'm a little bit hangry because I'm hungry and all that, I'm going to think of Doug. I'm going to think of that Doug Helton who put his chair up in front of a room full of people and came up from Newfoundland to tell his story about how he went to Europe and what he had to overcome to go there. And I'm going to go, wow, yeah, no, Doug can do that. I can do this, right? If John Davidson can push that kid up that hill in Thunder Bay and I start feeling a little tired at 2 a.m, I should remember what he did. It's 33.5 kilometers a day, John walked when he walked across Canada.
That's intense.
Right? In everything. Rain, snow, sleet, hail, you name it. And he never missed a day. 33.5 kilometers every day.
Wow.
Right? And what he told me is he did it in like 8-kilometer chunks. So he said, Kevin, you can do this, but you have to do it in bits. Don't look at 55 hours.
Right.
Look at, I'm going to do the morning. And when you get done the morning, you're going to do the afternoon.
Right.
And there's a good lesson to learn from that.
Absolutely.
Because when you're overwhelmed with a lot of things that you have to do, you have to chunk it.
Right. You know what? There's out of your culture, there's a great term for that. Shui shui.
Shui shui.
Right?
Shui shui. That's right. That's right.
Shui shui.
Shui shui.
Right? Right. Yeah. Mesh. So you can't take a 55-hour marathon.
Yes.
This 55 hours for hope and decide to eat the whole thing whole.
Right.
It's one bite at a time.
Right.
Shui shui.
That's
No
right.
yellow.
No, yellow. That's right.
And it's why
yellow will get you tired.
That's right.
That's
And it's why I've had to practice slowing down, because you'll hear in this podcast how quick I go and my Newfoundlandese comes out and I get going. And so I got to really shui my way through this, right? Because if I don't, and that's why I need to remember, and God has blessed me, really truly blessed me in the sense of bringing people into my life. You know, the most valuable thing in your life is relationships.
Absolutely.
And
I believe in that 100%.
when I meet people, like, you talk about us texting and me saying, and I mean it. I prayed, God, put the right person in front of me to be a title sponsor for this, who's got the resources to do it, but not just that, has the passion for doing the right thing. And there you were, right? So, and now I've had this experience of meeting you, right? And then I did a little reading and I read about your experience in the tents, drawing attention to Syria, which is something I was very passionate about and got involved in at the church.
Right.
So all of those things, I think the experiences are the part that matter in our lives. Can't take a damn thing with us when we go. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But when we go, hopefully in our last moments, what we have are all those experiences in our mind.
And hopefully we would have made enough difference in this world.
That's right.
So other people can remember us by them. Yeah. And be encouraged to continue on these changes.
That's right. The difference that you made being in that tent in the cold, feeling the emotion, knowing what others went through.
It was very intense. It was very, very intense. And just like you went with those red heels, or when you did the 2,200 kilometer on the bike. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of effort.
Yes.
But the thing is that A, you'll never forget this. No. 2, you made a lot of impact. Yeah. And 3, it motivates you to do other things.
Right. And I met a lot of people. You can believe I met on the trail on that bike. We met people, and my parishioners went with me and all that. So I just think all those things, and I mean, it's interesting. Even the media has a way of impacting you. Like when we had. During that time that you were in the tent, young Alan Kurdi died in Greece on the beach, right? The little kid who drowned.
Yes.
And I saw that, and I was so shocked by the image that I stood before my congregation at St.Aidan and I said, look, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I am educated and I do read and I know what's been going on in Syria the last few years. And as a leader in this community, I should be ashamed, and I'm sorry because I've done nothing. I haven't done what I should be doing to be an advocate here on this side of the world, to do something about what's going on there. And so I said, I ask your forgiveness to my people. I said, I ask you to forgive me because I've made a mistake here. I need to do something. And here's what I want to do. I want to bring a family here. And will you step up and help me bring a family here? And in 1 week, 10 days actually, in 10 days, we collected $30,000.
That's very
which
impressive.
ended up being enough to bring 2 families, one from Aleppo and one from Banyas. At the time, the election was on, the last election, so it was 4 years ago. And the then Harper government was insistent on not bringing more than 10,000 and not doing it for at least another 6 months. And so we changed our road sign. Our digital road sign said, Ottawa, we're ready. Where are you? You know, and the news media came out and we just started rattling cages, and I called up the then MP and I said, hey, we need to do something about this, you know. And then, you know, things started moving quite rapidly after the election, and they decided to bring in what originally was going to be 30,000, ended up being 55. But
Wow.
And this city was one of the busiest places in Canada, and that we brought 1,200 people from Syria here, and it's changed our community. We're a better city because of it. And those two families, the Mokaids and the Yazbeks, incredible people. My life is better for having. I know what shui shui is.
That's
now.
what I was gonna say.
Right? I was gonna say you learned a lot of Arabic.
I
from them
did.
too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you tasted their food too.
My
but
gosh,
we have to stay away from the sugar
Mokia.
stuff.
Mokia?
Mokia?
Mokia. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
And Kibbe.
And kimchi, yeah, you like
Yeah,
kimchi.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
look at you.
Yeah. No, I'm onto all that stuff. You know, I like the tawuk, and you know,
Yes.
now I'm a shawarma king. You
You're
know?
a shawarma guy?
Yeah. Shawarma Pita Palace over on
That's
Adelaide
right.
is one of the sponsors of this
Oh,
event.
okay, there you go.
Yeah,
There you
so
go. So they're giving you the sandwiches. That's for
Yeah,
that's
no.
right. You're seeing.
afraid the nurses won't go in for that. But yeah, so you know, we can make a difference if we put our heads to it. You know?
100%.
You know,
100%.
but you know when we never put our heads to it? When it doesn't go to our heart.
Right.
But if we experience it and if we
Yes.
feel it in here,
Yes.
then we can put our heads to doing
Absolutely, because it propels you. It actually gives you the
That's
motivation, gives you the
That's
purpose.
something. I think what frightens me is I think we spend a lot of time trapped between our ears.
Right.
We overanalyze everything. We talk everything to death. We're all over. You know, we all walk around like zombies in a way.
Right.
But if we could just lift our eyes up out of our devices and look another human being in the eye and hear what they're going through and experience what they're experiencing, it's life-changing. It's transformative. I believe it's what Jesus calls us to, and it's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, you said it best, and you said it throughout this entire thing, that the most important thing you can have is relationships with other people.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're actually building relationships with people that you haven't even met.
Yeah.
And you will meet a lot of people by doing this stuff. So, and you'll forever make impact.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to be a part of it.
We're just thrilled. I couldn't thank you enough for coming in, because it was something we prayed for and hoped for all summer, and it just didn't seem to be there. I had a couple of opportunities, but it wasn't the right fit. Again, because I was praying for the right fit, right? It had to be the right person with the right mindset. And so it's just great that you came along when you did. And that's what God does. God surprises you with new relationships when you least expect it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful that actually you came to my front door.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
I really look forward to actually going there and checking it out and for your journey to see how you're going to do in the 55 hours.
Yeah. If I need a filling in the middle of it,
needle
needle free.
Needle free.
Needle free. It's got to be needle free, okay?
I
can't deal with any
No worries, I'll take care of you.
Needle free.
I'll take care of you. So if people want to check or get more information on this, they go to 55hoursforhope.blog. .blog. 55hoursforhope.blog. Right here, we're live with Instagram right here.
Yeah,
and,
it's the
we
baby.
have that's the baby right there.
Yeah.
And we have our cameras. So go check it out. Put your name in there. Make sure that you sign in for the hours you're going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be just him talking. It's going to be him. It's going to be concerts. It's going to be balloons. So bring your kids and let's have a blast.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time.
Thank you so much for tuning in on episode number 6 of Discover with Sbenati. We have Reverend Kevin George here, who is going to be an amazing. It's going to do an amazing performance. I'm going to call it performance because it seems like that it's going to be more than just speaking.
Call it whatever you want.
He's gonna blow everything out of the water.
Yeah, and by the way, I'd just like to say, I have these beautiful cookies here, and the diabetic can't have any. So I just want to say, this is torturous. I'm in a dentist office with sugary treats that I can't have, okay? So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And with that, we're signing off. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye, live. Goodbye, Instagram.
Bye. Blessings to everybody.